What's up, guys? It's Goose. We are back with our podcast. We're reviewing Week 8 of Michigan high school football action today. Doak, what's our agenda?
Yeah, we're going to do a little bit of Week 8 review, Week 9 preview, and then a little bit more playoff outlook. Talk about some teams that have to win to get in the playoffs and what that playoff bracket might look like since we know a lot about it. And then, yeah, that's about it. It should be a good one. And, it's almost playoff time, so.
We got to give a quick shout out to our presenting sponsor, Teamfi. Funny enough, Teamfi is actually our company. That's right. You just heard Doak speak. It's his company, my other brother's company. We all started it. We started it for our dad. Our dad's a high school football coach. He came to us and was like, dude, I want to run fundraisers where I keep all my money. And so that's the point of Teamfi. All of our fundraisers are digital, and all of them, we take nothing out of the fundraiser. We've got a couple different options. You can explore them at www.teamfi.works. We've helped a lot of different teams across the nation raise a lot of money and keep a lot of money. And so check that out, www.teamfi.works. You can thumb through our different fundraisers, pay special attention to the calendar fundraiser. That's one of our most popular products. If you ever wanted to check them out or get set up for a team or a group that you're working with, just click the sign up button on our website. You'll meet with me for about 20 minutes. I'll show you how to get set up, and you'll be ready to go the next day. There's 251 games, and we predicted 220. So that is 87.6% accuracy. That's crazy. There's only 31 upsets. Now, the upsets that did happen were huge. Novi beat Northfield. That's a rivalry game. There's some sort of jug they play for. Sorry, Novi and Northfield listeners. My KLAA listeners would know better. But Novi was a 37-point dog per the model. So that is an incredibly big upset. Now, rivalry games, funny things happen. There's also some funny things with special teams that happened in this game. I got the scoop from a listener. Novi had like 200 yards in punt return and kick return yardage or something like that. So Northfield outgained them offensively, but just the special teams kind of ended up shooting Northfield in the foot, apparently. That's my very reductionist take. But again, we got 250 games here, so it's a little hard to jump in any more than that. Congrats to Novi, big win. They actually keep their playoff hopes alive with that big win. They're still a long shot at the playoffs, but they keep their playoff hopes alive. Another big one was in the CHSL Central. Brother Rice beats Orchard Lake St. Mary's. Orchard Lake St. Mary's has been our D2 number one team all year long. Brother Rice gets the upset, wins 43-31 as a 29-point dog. Wow. So Brother Rice gets that. I think they're still hoping to make the playoffs. I don't think they're a playoff lock, or maybe they move themselves into playoff lock contention with that win. So again,
I think they're winning in territory.
They're winning in territory? Okay, so we'll come back to that. We'll make sure to touch on that because obviously Brother Rice is a big team we want to touch on. Two other 21-point dogs that won. Lakeview beat Hemlock 13-12 as a 23-point dog. Way up in the UP, Hancock beats Ishpeming Westwood 52-20 as a 20-point dog. Our fifth one is actually a big one. Our fifth biggest upset. Coopersville beats Big Rapids. Coopersville needed to win one of their next two, I believe, to make the playoffs. They're on the outside looking in. They were not expected to beat Big Rapids. 20-point dog to Big Rapids. Big Rapids lighting it up in D4. They're the number 2 team in D4 for a while. Undefeated. Coopersville comes in and says, hey, we got to make the playoffs. Let's pull up a big win. The Broncos win 38-28 over Big Rapids. That's a big upset. It also slides Big Rapids' computer rating down quite a bit. So those are your top 5 upsets. Again, there's only 31 of them. All of those were 3 touchdowns or more, with that Novi Northfield one being particularly large. So that's what I got for Week 8 upsets. I want to talk about some of the big games, just to quickly review. Remember, our top game was Monroe St. Mary Catholic Central over Monroe Jefferson. We had it as a pick'em. SMCC beats Jeff 20-15. They now have a 3-way tie for the Huron League. Congrats to SMCC. I looked at some of the photos. Shout out Gary Hoff for posting those on Facebook. Looked like a great crowd and just a great environment. Really fun game. It was all the things you love about high school football. Just having everybody show up to that. Howell over Brighton, 37-28. That sets up a rematch for Howell against Belleville in the KLAA finals. If you remember last year, that game, I think Howell held the ball uh, and really grinded Belleville down with their power T that they run. And won on a 2-point conversion or something like that. So that's going to be a fun game to pay attention to. Our number 3 game was Cass and King. Cass, they didn't need 2 days this time. It was just a 1-day game. The first edition of this year was 2 games or 2 days. Cass wins 35-19. A little bigger of a margin this time as well. Grand Blake and Davison. Grand Blake puts up a ton of points, scoring 57 points on Davison. They win by 29. Is that right? Yeah, I think that's 29. That's a 29-point margin. We had Grand Blanc by 6. So huge for the Bobcats. They're looking to be in peak playoff form as we go into playoffs in 2 weeks. Congrats. That is a huge win. Davison no longer undefeated. Our 5th game, I want to touch on. This is the last one I'm going to touch on from last week. Grand Blanc, Jenison in Holland, West Ottawa. Jenison and West Ottawa were both on the playoff bubble. It was a very close game, projected score. We had West Ottawa winning by 2. We thought Jenison needed to win one of the next 2. Well, the Wildcats, they win 9-7. Not the 2-point margin we predicted, but the other way. They look to be solidly in the playoffs. Not a lock, but solidly. They have a tough game coming up against Caledonia, a game Caledonia opponent. I think they can lose that and miss the playoff and make the playoffs still, but obviously you'd rather win. So those are our top 5 games. Doak, do you have any others you want to touch on?
Yeah, the last one I would touch on there is the Lumen Christi versus St. Francis game. St. Francis a couple weeks ago is the top team in D6. Lumen took it over last week, I believe. They went up there and took care of business. I mean, I think Jackson, Lumen Christi put themselves clearly at the top of D6 right now. It's an interesting matchup. I'll be unsurprised if they end up playing again in the state finals. So it'd be interesting to see how that score changes the second time around. It's really hard to beat a good team twice, and it's going to be it's tough for St. Francis. They played 2 tough games this last couple weeks, and they're probably going to match up with Kingsley, a team they beat by 1 point early in the playoffs. So that's a tough one for them. They seem to have an interesting spot going into the postseason. And then,
all right, well, that's going to wrap up our Week 8 section. Doak, what's our next section?
Let's talk a little bit about Survivor Island. So in Survivor Island going into the week, there was 37 teams. We're down to 33. Obviously, there's a couple undefeated matchups that we can touch on. Macomb Lutheran North versus Ann Arbor Gabriel Richard. FGR took the win there. They took care of business, 44-19, I believe. So that matchup was not as close as we predicted. We predicted a 37-34 score on that one. And then Grand Blanc Davison, same deal. We projected Grand Blanc to win by 6. They won by a lot more than 6. When you put up 60 points, it's hard to lose a game. I'll tell you that much. I think Monroe Jefferson got knocked off this week, so that was a 3rd team, and then somebody else fell off this week as well. So all tough. It's tough to fall off. You're playing good teams this week though again, so I would expect a couple to fall off, and I can guarantee you at least one will, because Ann Arbor Father Gabriel Richard is going to the Prep Bowl versus Allen Park Cabrini. 2-8-0 squads. I know a lot of people ask about Cabrini's ranking. I'll tell you this much: they'll probably be in the top 10 if they can beat Ann Arbor Father Gabriel Richard this week. But we'll see. We will see.
Okay, well, that's your Survivor Island outlook. Doak, how many teams are left on Survivor Island?
There's 33.
33 undefeateds left. We'll at least be down to 32. I bet you we drop close to 30 or maybe even below 30 after Week 9. So that is Week 8 with a bow on it. Doak, where are we going next? We going to Week 9?
We are going to week 9 model rankings, but I believe you have something to say about Team 5 first.
Well, guys, thanks for listening so far. We're going to do another ad break. Tune your ears out. Our presenting sponsor is Teamfi. That is my company with my brothers. We started it. We do free digital fundraisers for teams. If you've got a team or a group that you work with and you guys are like, dude, we need a fundraiser right now. We don't know what else to do. We need to just get some money injected into our group. Well, guys, Teamfi is the solution for you. And we've got a couple different products you can choose from. You can do our calendar fundraiser. You can do a Nathon. You can keep it simple and just do our crowdfunding product. They all work. They all raise you several $100s per person. And the best part is they're all free, right? Our platform takes nothing out of the fundraiser, the funds that you raise. So check that out. Go to our website, www.teamfi.works. Scroll through the website, look at the products. My brother worked hard to put images in there so you can kind of see actually their live videos. When you find one that works for you, click sign up. You'll book a meeting with me. It'll take 20 minutes and I'll get you started that day. And you'll start raising money later that day. So again, www.teamfi.works and check it out. Let's talk about ratings. And guys, we gotta, this is a special ratings episode because for the first time in the history of Goose Poop, all right, I have capitulated to the mob and I have made an adjustment to my formula to the detriment of the accuracy. Okay? So everybody that's listening to this, I want you to know I've moved Cass and King up via an adjustment, which I'm about to tell you. It has made the model less accurate. Now, the eye test, it's going to pass the eye test better because people will stop complaining, but the model is now less accurate. Not far less accurate. I'll say more here in a second. What have we done? We have removed all Detroit Public School opponents from Cass and King's schedule, not named themselves. So Cass and King have obviously played themselves twice this year, as they do most years. We've left those games in. Those are fair games to rate each other because they're close games. They're competitive games. Their other opponents have not been competitive in the slightest, and we've removed those out because they're messing with the ratings. We talked more about that on last week's show. If you want kind of an inside scoop on the ratings, go back to that show. So we've removed that. What has it done when you take those games out of the computer? Well, it bumps both teams up. It bumps up to Cass to team number 7 in D1. Still not as high as some other people have them, but that's just where they're at. It bumps up King quite a bit. King is now the number 2 or number 3 team in D3 and is a legitimate title threat, just like they are most years. That they were there last year in the finals. Both these things passed the smell test for me. They both passed the smell test. I like where they're rated. People are going to complain about Cass not being rated number 1. If you look at the actual common results, they have some common results that just haven't passed muster of rating them number 1, and that's why they're still rated at a kind of 7 by the computer. So again, that's the adjustment we made. Now I will tell you, we made this adjustment, and I looked at predicting week 8 games side by side with this adjustment, guys. And you know what it said? It said we would have got one more game wrong with this adjustment made last week. We would have been less accurate. So again, give some props to Goose. JK, don't give me any props. But just know I'm making this adjustment for the mob, for the people shouting in our DMs, and I'm willingly setting our computer model back to the Stone Age. One less game predicted. So just know that, all right? So I'm doing it for you guys, for the love of the game. All right. Let's actually get to the ratings themselves. D1, not really much changed. You've got 3 OK Red teams in the top 5. East Kentwood still has the top spot. They are a 1.5 favorite over the Shamrocks of DCC. Hudsonville, Clarkston, and Rockford are your top 5. Grand Blanc makes a big jump. They're number 6. They are still number 6. Cass Tech comes back into the ratings top 10 at number 7. They make a big jump with that adjustment. Cass Tech, if playing DCC tomorrow, which I don't think they are. I think it's actually MLK playing.
MLK playing DCC. Cass Tech
is an 8-point underdog to DCC if they played tomorrow. Saline at 8. Adams at 9. West Bloomfield is 10. Davison drops out of the top 10. They are sitting at spot 11. All right, let's go to 2. 2, not much has changed. But I will tell you, the gap between Orchard Lake St. Mary's and the field came down a bit this week because Orchard Lake St. Mary's just lost to Brother Rice. They showed that they were beatable. Now it's a conference game. Funny stuff happens in the Catholic League Central, but that happened. Their rating got adjusted. Orchard Lake St. Mary's is still the number 1 team. They are a 4-point favorite over number 2 Muskegon. Muskegon has jumped Portage Central. Not sure why. Portage Central is still not far off. Portage Central is your number 3 team. If Portage Central played Muskegon tomorrow, which they will likely meet up in the playoffs, it would be a pick'em game. So very good game there. Dow at 4. Dexter at 5. Byron Center at 6. GPS, Grosse Pointe South. South Lyon. Has South Lyon been in here? I don't know.
I don't think so. I think they're new.
South Lyon makes an appearance. Mona Shores at 9 and Traverse City Central at 10. That's your top 10 guys. Brother Rice with the big upset win over Orchard Lake St. Mary's. They are sitting outside the top 10 at 11, but a huge jump. I did not know Brother Rice was D2 this year. That's shame on me. That sets up a potentially very interesting playoff matchup if Orchard Lake and Brother Rice play each other again. I'm not sure what the bracket's looking like for that possibility, but that could be a very fun matchup. All right, let's go D3. D3, we got some big movements because of that King change. DeWitt's still number 1. King is your new number 2. They are currently a touchdown underdog to DeWitt. Mount Pleasant is your 3 spot. King boots them out of the 2 spot. Mount Pleasant is a 9-point dog to DeWitt and a 1-point dog to King. One of our listeners would probably disagree with Mount Pleasant being rated so high. I'm sorry. That's just the way the computer's spitting it out. So Mount Pleasant at 3. Lowell at 4. The gap has widened between our top 3 teams and our next tier. Lowell's a touchdown underdog to Mount Pleasant. They are a 2-touchdown underdog to DeWitt. So that's kind of how big the gap is between team number 1 and team number 4. Kanawha Hills, who beat Lowell earlier this year, is your team 5. I think that's their highest rating all year. If they replayed Lowell again, which they very well might in the playoffs, they are a 3-point dog. Niles, undefeated, at 6. EGR at 7. Cedar, another RCA team, at 8. Fenton, welcome to number 9. I think that's your highest rating all year. Very close game to Goodrich in the Flint Metro League Finals. Lose by 1. They get bumped up by 3 points. And then finally, welcome back to the top 10, Warrendale Sal. They are your 10th best team in D2 or D3. Let's jump. 4. I think we're picking up speed here. All right, we're gonna just keep flying. D4, there's some change here, and that's really has to do with the Big Rapids loss. Your number 1, unchanged all year, Harper Woods. Number 2, Ludington. They've been near the top. 3, Unity Christian. 4, Williamston. 5, Portland. 6 is Big Rapids. Big Rapids' rating falls a touchdown after losing to Coopersville. They are your 6th best team. Harper Creek is 7. Goodrich also gets knocked down a few points. Actually 5 to be specific. They are your team 7. Team 8 is Divine Child. No. Goodrich is team 8. Team 9 is Divine Child. Hazlitt is team 10. And that is your top 10 in D4. The separation there, just for people wondering, between team 10 and team 1, Hazlitt is a 20-point dog to Harper Woods if they were to play. So just kind of some interesting stats there. There's a touchdown of separation between Harper Woods and the tier below them, which is really Ludington, Unity, Williamston, maybe Portland. And then there's another kind of group of teams all hanging around about 5 points worse than that. So definitely some separation. Harper Woods is a clear front runner, and I think the results show that. D5, not really much change. Kind of probably the most boring division in terms of change this week. I think your top 5 is literally the same. Grand Rapids Catholic Central, 1. Frankenmuth, 2. West Catholic, 3. West Catholic, let's keep the Holy War Tracker, alert. What is the spread as of now? West Catholic is a 6.5-point dog to Catholic Central in their almost inevitable playoff matchup. We'll see if it actually happens in what round, but that's something you want to keep an eye on. And if you're Grand Rapids local, don't miss that game. There'll be a huge crowd, I'm sure. Ogama Heights is 4. Notre Dame Prep. takes a little bit of a setback in their climb back into their ascent back to the top of the ratings. They are team number 5 this week. They are currently rated in a pick'em game or a 1-point dog to West Catholic and a 7-point dog to Catholic Central. So even at the 5 spot, can very well come home with this thing at the end of the year. They're within shooting distance. Another team that I don't want you to rule out is Monroe Jefferson. They just fell off Survivor Island last week with a loss to SMCC. Their rating's pretty high. They're 29. They would be an 8.5-point dog to GRCC. And so keep an eye on Monroe Jefferson. That's team 6. Swan Valley is 7. Armada is 8. Richmond is 9. And Michigan Center rounds out your top there. That is your top 10 in D5. All right. We got 3 left. Let's go to 6. 6, also probably pretty boring. Really, the big change there is Traverse City St. Francis has slid. They are now team 4 below a team they beat earlier this year, which is Kingsley, and a team they'll probably have to rematch. So Kingsley is a 3-point favorite over a team they lost to. That happens. That's how the computer model goes. Kingsley's at 2. Calumet, a team, the furthest north team, the Copper Kings of Calumet, are our team number 3. I've not seen Calumet be so highly rated in all my time doing these ratings. I'm very excited to see how they do measuring up to that rating. So, of course, I always like to see the UP do well. Lumen Christi is your team number 1, by the way. We kind of skipped over that. They are a touchdown favorite over Kingsley, the next closest D6 team. So that's Lumen Christi, Kingsley, Calumet, St. Francis. Elmont is team number 5. Ida is 6. They slide a bit after losing to Clinton. 7 is Belding. Reed City is 8. Marine City 9. And Montrose is your 10th team. Montrose still undefeated, right, Doak?
Correct. I think they were supposed to play Gabriel Richard this week, but since they qualified for the Prep Bowl of some sort.
Yes. Prep Bowl is always wreaking havoc on our schedules. So thank you, Catholic League, for always making it hard for us, for Goose Poop, to run the ratings. Don't you know that that's what's important, is for us to be able to pull clean schedules every week? It doesn't. Tradition means nothing. It's all about pulling our clean schedules, guys. Come on.
Exactly.
All right. Let's go to 7. Got 2 more. 7, number 1 is Menominee. I think they're the new number 1. I think they usurped.
They flip-flop with Pewamo.
I'm sick of talking about the flip-flop, and in 7, I think we've had 3 or 4 different number 1s this year. Just know that it's like neck and neck between Menominee and P-Dub. The next tier down is SMCC. They're not far off. They're a touchdown dog to Menominee. Not even a touchdown dog. 6-point dog to Menominee. Clinton, they've actually taken over Whiteford for the top 4 spot. So Whiteford's been hanging down at number 4 all year. Clinton is now number 4. We have them as a 1-point favorite over Whiteford. Whiteford is number 5. Last year's D7 champ. Millington is number 6. Cass City 7. Laker 8. So it's funny, the thumb there goes boom, boom, boom in D7. Millington 6, Cass City 7, Laker 8. Ithaca is at 9, and Charlevoix is at 10. Now, I want to touch on a team that's unranked here in the top 10 that's undefeated. We are getting a ton of questions about Saginaw Valley Lutheran. They are 8-0. They're having their best season in school history. Usually not the strongest record for them, but they are undefeated, and they actually have beat Ithaca, a team that's power rated higher than them. Well, let's do a little deep dive. Well, let's go over to Goose Poop. I'm going to go to predictions. I'm going to go over to Goose Poop. I'm going to go to predictions, and I'm going to spend a little time answering this question because we're getting a lot of people asking about it. We do know where Saginaw Valley Lutheran is. Some people are like, have you even heard of this school? Do you even know we're undefeated? Yeah, we do, guys. We've been posting Survivor Island graphics with you guys all year. Saginaw Valley Lutheran, currently undefeated, currently rated the 14th best team in D7. We don't have them in the top 10. Why? Well, look at their results against weaker competition, right? The model penalizes you if you don't meet your spread. Even if you win, the model penalizes you for not winning by enough. And I'm sorry, maybe that's a flaw of the model. That's that kind of Cass Tech King dynamic that we talked about last week at length, but it's at play here. So SVL wins 20-0 over Rochester Hills Lutheran Northwest. They're supposed to win by 32. So Didn't win by enough there. That's one result. Hemlock. They're supposed to win by 38. They only win 35-20, 35-8. Maybe they stopped because of a running clock. I don't know. I know that happened in some other games, but that definitely hurts your rating. My last one is 49-6 over Carrollton. They're supposed to win by 57. All right. You're telling me I got to run the score up to maintain my rating? Technically, yes, but that's just a flaw in the model. And we have to deal with that. We have to be okay with it. Unfortunately, these 3 games I just spout off hurt SVL's rating and leave them outside the top 10. There's nothing else we can do about it. So maybe we'll make a Cast Tech-like adjustment. Maybe. Not promising it, but that's what's going on here. In the meantime, SVL doesn't care because our model has no bearing on anything. They've scored 3 upsets already this year. Beat Nouvelle as a 3-point dog, 27-20. Beat their rival Lutheran school, MLS, 31-21 as a 2-point dog. Their best win all year. Win by 1 over Ithaca, 23-22 as a 9-point dog. So they've shown that they've already shown that they have no care for the model in their results. 3 upset wins is impressive. That's very hard to do. They are going to try to do it again this week when they take on Unionville Sebowing, USA, in their matchup where they will be a 3-point dog. USA currently the number something team in D8, which is going to take me to my last segment. This is your new D8 ratings. Unionville USA. I'm just going to call them USA. I can't say it. They're the number 5 team in D8. Number 1, you got to. Well, I'm talking about D8. Number 1 is new. Hudson has usurped Harbor Beach. We talked a lot earlier in the year about how highly rated Harbor Beach was. No longer. They're still very highly rated, but nowhere near where they were. So Harbor Beach has come down quite a bit. Hudson is now rated ahead of them. If they played today, we would say Hudson by 3. Hudson's number 1 in D8, Harbor Beach number 2. There is a huge gap between those 2 teams, those 2 black and orange teams, by the way, over the 3rd best team, which is Beale City. Beale City's your reigning D8 state champ. We have Harbor Beach and Hudson both by about 2 touchdowns over them. Fowler, team 4. USA, team 6. White Pigeon, team 7. Both the Saginaw teams that we were just talking about with Valley Lutheran, Nouvelle Catholic Central, and MLS are sitting there at teams 8 and 9. And then team 10 is Decatur. Those are your top 10.
You were one off there. Team 10 is actually Bark River Harris.
Oh, Bark coming back at us from the UP. Bark River Harris making an appearance. Looking at this, Bark River Harris got a good shot to make a deep run because there's not any other. I don't think there's any other UP teams here in the top 10. So that'll be fun. If Bark River Harris, I haven't seen their name in the semis in a bit. So we'll hold out there to see if that actually happens. So that's your top 10 in D8. Doak, do you have anything you want to add here, or you want to go to our next segment?
Let's head to the next segment. I think we covered, the rankings we talk about every week. So they change less and less with the model getting more accurate. So I think we could spend a good amount of time just talking, playoffs, honestly. Outlook into this last week. Everybody's curious about, what does my team have to do to get in? What are the odds my team actually makes it? That sort of thing. We've had tons of messages this week, and hey, listen, that's what we're here for. So,
we're going to discuss it. We'll discuss it, but also if you're asking what your odds are, go to the website. And I say that not as a mean way. I say it as, look, we did all the work for you, and we put it out for free. Literally, go to the website, hit the predictions tab. We're going to tell you what the odds are, right? And if you want to know what your odds are given that you win, well, you can do a little inverse, little probability, little conditional probability, get your textbook out and back into, okay, this is what happens if we win. You can also experiment live with the Playoff Wizard. Put in that you win, select your team on the Playoff Wizard, put in that you win, and just keep hitting the refresh button and see how many times you win, how many times you make the playoffs versus how many times you don't. So there's a couple ways to do it. We publish it all for free. Head to our website, goosepoop.io, and select which tab you want to do. Playoff Wizard will let you predict it. Predictions will show you our math. So with that out of the way, though, we're still going to run you through it. We're going to run you through it. So D1, here's your playoff bubble. We have basically 27 teams that are locks. Our bubble is Jenison, Heartland, Salem, Rochester, and Kalamazoo Central. Kalamazoo Central is your last team in right now. Okay? Kalamazoo Central has a 78% chance of making it. On the outside looking in, with a shot still, are Dearborn, Ann Arbor Huron, Novi, keeping their hat in the ring with their big upset win over Northville, Livonia Stevenson, and like really with just a sliver of a hope is Holt. Holt needs everything to go, like literally way too much to go right to actually make it. They have a 0.001% chance of making it. 0.1%. So I doubt that will happen for Holt, but those other 4 teams have a shot of making it. They're on the outside looking in. So again, your outside looking in teams right now are Stevenson, Novi, Huron, and Dearborn. The most likely of those 4 are Dearborn. Huron also has a decent shot, 1 in 4 shot to make it. So that is your bubble in D1. I don't have anything to say about that. I'm going to move on to D2. This is a long segment, and I don't want to take up too much time. Doak, I want you to interject if you have anything you need to say. So let's look at our locks here. Our locks in D2. And again, I'm going to call anything with 98% odds or higher as a lock. We've got 28 locks. One thing I'm worried about is our last lock is Mona Shores. I don't have their game, Toledo Catholic Central, in the system or in the projection. That's because the MHSAA had a weird bug. When we pulled the data, it just didn't show. Snooze had the same problem as me, if you want a little inside baseball there. Because of that, because I don't have that game in there, my projection for Mona might be off. Maybe Mona's not as solid of a lock. Let's assume that they are. Mona, 98% chance of making it. What's our bubble? So that means our bubble's 4 teams. Here's your 4 teams that are the last 4 in. South Lyon East, East Lansing, Warren Mott, and Brother Rice. Brother Rice putting themselves back in contention. Now let's look at Brother Rice. I want to look at Brother Rice right now. Okay? Because that's a big name brand. We got to talk about them. They're looking to get back into the playoffs. I think they missed last year. I want to look at what their odds are here. Okay, so this is great. Brother Rice has a 57% chance of making it. They also have a 57% chance of beating Stevenson, who they're playing. That's Sterling Heights Stevenson, not Livonia Stevenson. They are a 6-point favorite. So Brother Rice is what we would call solidly a win and in team. You win, you make the playoffs. You lose, you likely don't. Pay attention to that for Rice. On the outside looking in. So again, these are our last 4 teams, or first 4 teams out. Northview, Milford, Midland, and Heritage. And again, that's Northview, Milford, Midland, and Heritage are your last 4 teams out. Northview, as a 50-50 game against FHN, I think if they win, they'll be in, given that the teams above them don't all win simultaneously. There's enough coin flip games there to where I don't think that will happen. So that's Northview. Milford's in a very similar spot. Milford has a rivalry game this week with their twin school in the same district, White Lake Lakeland. Unsure what that rivalry is called, but I think that's the Huron Valley Independent School District or something like that. Coin flip game. I think Milford's favored by 3. Lakeland solidly in the playoffs. Milford is not. They need to win to make it in. And so that's another one to keep an eye on there for your playoff scenario. Let's go to 3. What's going on in 3? 3 has a bubble. 3 has basically 29 locks. Coopersville has moved themselves into a lock. with the win over Big Rapids, the upset win. Zeeland East is nearly a lock at 98% chance. So who is the bubble? Well, the bubble's Owasso, Riverview, and Bay City John Glenn. Those three teams are likely to make it. John Glenn, 68% chance. On the outside looking in is Bay City Western, Stevensville Lakeshore, and Petoskey. Fruitport also has a sliver of a chance that's similar to Petoskey's. And so that is your last four teams in. Let's take a look here. Bay City John Glenn, just looking at the 68% chance, that smells like a win-and-in situation. I'm just going to find them here on my website.
28. There.
28, 68% chance. So they have an 88% chance. So they actually, even if they win, they need a little help is what this is saying. I think that's right. Yeah, because they have an 88% chance of beating Swartz Creek. By no means a gimme, but should be a competitive game, but they're expected to win. Even if they win, they still need a little help. So someone else needs to kind of lose. Someone else that's expected to lose needs to lose. That is your forecast for John Glenn. Let's look at Bay City Western. I think that's a good one to look at. That one looks like a interesting one. Can't seem to find them. Oh, they're playing their rivalry game probably against Central. Bay City Western, very similar. They are a 23-point favorite over Bay City Central. That's a 90% chance to win. They only have a 55% chance of making the playoffs. They need to win and then get a little help, just like John Glenn. All right, that's kind of probably spent a little too much time on D3 there. All right, let's go to 4. 4. What's our situation? In 4, we have 28 teams with 95% chance or better. I'm not going to dwell on those. Just take those as a given. Your bubble right now is Lansing Sexton, St. Clair, Lake Fenton, and Ortonville Brandon is your last team in. Your first team out is Fowlerville. Now, I will tell you that I will not be surprised if Fowlerville is in, because their odds of making it are just about as high as Lake Fenton and Brandon. They're just slightly lower. They all have about 60% chance. Holland Christian also has a decent chance at 50%. So if one of the 6 teams here of Lansing Sexton, St. Clair, Lake Fenton, Brandon, Fowlerville, and Holland Christian, if 4 out of those 6 teams make it, four out of those 6 teams are the likelihood to be the last 4 in. There's going to be some swapping around there. And so that's kind of your bubble. Charlotte, Crosslex, Otsego, and Sparta all have a sliver of a chance. Likely out for all 4 of those teams, but a sliver of a chance there. So, and if Crosslex pulls the upset over Otsego or over Ogemaw Heights, who I think they're playing, who they're quite an underdog to, their odds are going to shoot up too. So those are your last. That's your bubble in D4. And again, it could be Sexton, could be St. Clair, could be Lake Fenton, could be Brandon, could be Fowlerville, could be Holland Christian. You're going to get 4 of those 6 teams in. D5. What's your bubble? D5, we have 28 teams solidly in, 29 or 27. Hazel Park should be in with a win. They're quite a favorite this week at 92% chance. That's your team 28, I believe, is what this is saying. Yep. Your last 4 in are Yale, Voyageur, Kellogg'sville, and Whitmore Lake. Whitmore Lake's an interesting one. I have them taking the forfeit over Beecher and making it in. They actually need to win. They actually don't control their own destiny. Whitmore Lake, they need to win. Obviously, they're kind of a lock to beat Beecher. But they also need a little help on 5. And the reason I bring up Whitmore Lake, guys, because I'm going to tell you something could happen that would make people very angry. People over in Whitmore Lake. If Whitmore Lake does not make the playoffs, having gotten 7 wins, they will be the first team in Michigan high school football, I think, history to miss the playoffs at 7-2. So keep an eye on that. Those are your top. What is that? That's your 32. So your bubble there is Yale, Voyageur, Kellogg'sville, Whitmore Lake. On the outside looking in is Hopkins, Shepherd, Lakewood, Alma, Orchard View, and Bullock Creek. Hopkins and Shepherd have a very solid chance of making the playoffs still. I think Whitmore Lake needs to get the win and then cheer against Hopkins or Shepherd. One of those two is in with a win, and is playing in a very contentious game, like very closely matched. I think that's true for Hopkins. I think they have a close matchup this week. So that's kind of Whitmore Lake is your number one anti-Hopkins fan, basically. All right, let's go to 6. Probably spending too much time on this segment. Doak, how are we doing for time?
Pretty solid.
Okay. So 6 is your most wide open division. We have only 25 spots locked up. Buchanan is your team 26. Flint New Standard 27. Detroit Central 28. Montague 29. Clinton Township Clintondale is team 30. Onstead and Meridian are 31 and 32 respectively. Those are your 32 teams. Again, your sort of last 7 there are Buchanan, Flint New Standard, Detroit Central, Montague, Clintondale, Onstead, and Meridian. That also means that the bubble is pretty large looking outside. So if there's 6 teams that still haven't locked up their spot, or 7 teams that haven't locked up their spot, there's probably about 7 teams that are still in contention. We've got Brooklyn Columbia Central as your first team out, and Hart as your second team out. Both those teams hoping to get in. Lansing Catholic is also on the outside looking in with a shot. Same with Gladstone and Kalkaska. So that is your bubble in D6. I have very low odds for Southlake, Manistee, and Mason County Central. They could get in. They need a lot to go their way. So again, your actual bubble is Columbia Central, Hart, Lansing Catholic, Gladstone, and Kalkaska. Let's go to 7. We got a wrap here. Eventually 7. We've got 25 teams. Okay, so the bubble's actually quite large in 7. 25 teams that are likely locked up. We've got Shelby, Manton, Detroit Community, Detroit Northwestern, Jonesville, Leslie, Coloma. How many did I just do? 7. That is your likely in. So again, Coloma, Leslie, Jonesville, Northwestern Community, Manton, and Shelby are your last 7 in. All not necessarily locks. Shout out to Coloma. They weren't playing 11-man football not too long ago. So congrats on being back in the playoff race after not playing a season. On the outside looking in, 2 teams that still have very high odds are Galesburg Augusta and Morley Stanwood. Those are your first 2 teams out. They still have very high odds. And the way the math actually works, they're more likely to make it than not make it, if you can believe that. But they're currently sitting at teams 33 and 34. Otisville Lakeville also has a decent shot at 15% chance. They're the 3rd team out. With sort of a sliver of hope is Bath, Atherton, Houghton Lake, and Stockbridge. Not much of a chance, but a chance for those teams. Lastly, 8. So as we've kind of gone down the lower divisions here, guys, the bubble gets bigger. There's just more variation in the schedules. And so wilder things can happen. D8. We've got a smaller bubble. Really only 4 teams here. Sacred Heart is likely a lock, but they're the first team on the bubble. Only an 89% chance still of making it. Reese, Lance, and Oakland Christian are your last 4 in. On the outside looking in are Farwell, West Iron County, Ubley, and Reading. Those are your 4 teams that are on the outside looking in. Actually, who has just as high a chance as Muskegon Catholic Central. They have a 5% chance, just like Reading. Really, Farwell and West Iron County are the ones who are contending with the likes of Lance and Auburn Hills Oakland Christian. Basically, outside of that, the field's likely set. That is your bubble talk. Hopefully this was insightful. If you heard me mention a team that's on the bubble and you're like, oh, that's interesting, I wonder what their odds are, go to our website and do a deep dive on the team. You'll see their prediction for making the playoffs, their percentage odds, and then you'll see their percentage odds of winning the game in week 9. If those line up 1-for-1, then you basically could say, okay, win and in, right? If they don't line up, then there's a story there. Oh, they need to win and get a little help. Oh, they can lose, and as long as everything else goes their way, they'll still make it, right? And that's kind of how you can use these statistics we put together to kind of get a little more insight on things. Yeah, that's playoff talk. Doke, what was that? That was probably the longest segment in the history of the pod.
I don't know. We've spent some good time on rankings. We did pretty well for time. As far as what we usually do, we kind of went quicker with rankings this week. So,
all right. Well, let's look at week 9. Let's finish off with that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, guys, it's honestly the computer model doesn't love the slate this week. There's only one game with a game score of 90 or higher, and that's Dakota and Oxford. We have Oxford winning by 20-19 over Dakota. Not really a consequential playoff game. Might determine home field advantage or seeding. Both teams solidly in the playoffs. Our number 2 game is a playoff game. Northview needs to win over Forest Hills Northern. I think Forest Hills Northern's out of the playoff race. Northview needs a win. Northview expected to lose in a pick'em game. So it's 25-25 is our final score prediction. So very good game there. Northview needs to beat FHN to make it, in my opinion. Our third best game is Caledonia and Jenison. Jenison here has been I think they've been on here for 3 straight weeks as they kind of go through the slugfest that is the OK Red. Jenison expected to lose 18-15. That is a similar point total that they're expected to lose by last week. We said that they just needed to win one of the next 2 to make it. And they won last week. Now, I believe I said this last year as well. I hope I'm not wrong, just for sake of just telling Jenison folks the wrong thing all the time. I think they're in regardless of whether they win or lose this game, but obviously you try to win to lock it up. So Jenison expected to lose. They win, lock it up. They lose, they leave themselves open to missing, but I still think they're likely in. Morris, Illinois, against Byron Center is supposed to be your 4th best game. I don't have anything to say about Morris. I don't. Byron Center, very good team. Obviously made D2 finals last year. Rated like 5 or 6 in D2. They're supposed to win 35-29. So a lot of points there. Maybe go there if you want to just see an entertaining game. Riverview in Toledo's St. Francis de Sales. Riverview is expected to lose 20-22 in this game. That's your 5th best game. I don't have anything else to say about that, to be honest with you. So that is your top 5 games this week. I know it's not that entertaining of a slate. I would, if you're on the west side, that Cal Jenison game or that Northview Forest Hills Northern game should be very tight games that have some playoff stakes. Jenison needs to win. Northview needs to win. So check them out. Another game I want to call out here is Traverse City West and Traverse City Central. Why am I calling this out? Well, first of all, it's supposed to be close. Traverse City Central 25, Traverse City West 19. Okay, that's one reason. Second reason is both teams are locks for playoffs. A. Third reason, rivalry game. B. Or what am I at? B. Or that would be C. And then fourth reason, they share a field. All right. So all those things make for an interesting game. But here's even added context between those data points I just gave you. They are both locks for the playoffs. They will both likely, if you look at Snooze's projection, they will both likely play each other next game. So what that sets up is a 2-game series. Doak, you're the coach here. A 2-game series in which your first game means absolutely nothing besides pride, because you share the same home field. And the second game's the real one that you want to win. And you're both in the playoffs. Like, what does winning the first game mean to you, right? And obviously, no one wants to talk like this, but I just do want to call it out because it's just a messed up thing that we have in Michigan high school football playoffs where this could happen, where you're playing the same game week 9 and week 10. I think it happened with Niles and Paw Paw last year. But even more messed up, it doesn't even matter for home field advantage because you're just going to share the same. So just weird. I don't wish that on anybody, especially both these teams, because it's a rivalry game and you hope that the rivalry game means something and that you don't turn around and play it again the next week. So that's weird. I just want to call it out. We spent some time talking about Brother Rice and Stevenson. Brother Rice needs to beat Stevenson to make it, and then they are very much a live dog in the playoffs. If they make it, they're a 7-point favorite over Stevenson. White Lake Lakeland and Milford, rivalry game. Milford expected to lose 33-30. A lot of points in that game. Milford needs to win to make it. Well, Lakeland solidly in the playoffs. Another game a lot of people are going to have their eyes on are King and Catholic Central. Again, this is going to be a good litmus test for how good Cass is, how good King is, right? We don't get a lot of non-conference, or they play kind of a bad conference schedule, so it's tough to rate them. King is expected to lose 28-14, 27-14 to Catholic Central. We'll see if that happens. Keep an eye on it. Doesn't really mean anything for playoffs. Unity Christian and Notre Dame Prep is another one to look at. Two highly rated teams in the mid divisions. We have Unity 41, Notre Dame Prep 30. Keep your eye on that one too. The KLAA title rematch of a kind of a shocker last year when Howell took down the Bryce Underwood-led Belleville Tigers. We actually have Howell prevailing again, 34-24. So pretty good game there too. A battle of undefeateds. Montrose and Gabe Richard.
No, that's actually Cabrini and Gabe Richard.
Oh, they switched it. Okay. Well, still undefeated matchup. I'll give you the Cabrini Richard score right now. So Richard is a 12 or 13. Cabrini. I don't have Cabrini on here. Throw that out. So I don't have a Cabrini score for you. But that is your week 9 preview. I don't have anything else to say. If you have questions, shoot us a DM on our socials. Comment on our YouTube. We try to get to all of them. Head to our website. You can pick through our data yourself. Hopefully we didn't bore you to death here. Hopefully this was kind of informative. So we'll be back with a week 9 show. We're going to try to get that done Sunday morning. That'll be interesting. I don't know if we'll get that done Sunday morning. We'll probably wait till the brackets come out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it
was a good one. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for sticking with us through all the crossovers and whatnot going on, and hopefully we gave some insights on the playoffs. Follow our socials. We got Facebook, we got Twitter, we got what else do we got? We got Instagram, and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube. It helps us a ton. And then subscribe to the newsletter. Every Friday we deliver our weekly summary of social posts to the newsletter straight to your inbox. So that's about it. That's all we got. Check out Teamfi, and we appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you next week for a little bit more playoff preview once we have some brackets, and it's about that time of the year.
See you next week, guys.
It's interesting. All right.
Thanks for listening.
See you next week.